Chapter 4 Wilderness. In the morning, Jude turned over in his sleeping bag and rolled his face into a puddle of water. He jerked his head up and saw dim daylight peering through the walls, illuminating the small lake that had formed while they slept. The fire was out, and water was dripping down the chimney. "I thought I wet the bed, but now we'll never know," Maisy said, sitting up and raising her arm, dripping with muddy water. "What's going on?" Zara said, surveying the scene. "Good news. A warm front has moved in, and we can get out of here," Jude said. "Bad news. We're soaking wet. It's still cold, and our wet bags and clothes will be 5 times as heavy. How's your foot?" "It hurts, but I think I can start putting weight on it," Zara said. "She really needs another day off of it," Maisy said. "I don't know what we should do." "We need to get out of here," Jude said firmly. "We need to move, get our blood pumping, and find a way to dry off, even if it is by wind on a motorcycle." "How—" Maisie started and then stopped as she saw the wheels turning in Jude's head. "I have an idea." Cutting 2 sturdy branches with what was left of the old rusty handsaw he used 2 nights earlier, he made poles and slid them through one of the tents they packed. He created a stretcher that could be dragged behind him, and Zara climbed on as his reluctant passenger. Maisie was left to carry the rest of the gear, and they gave up on the soaked sleeping bags and left them behind. Following the notches he made during the blizzard, Jude heaved the stretcher up the hill, over the rocks, logs, and foliage, and finally found the trees where they sheltered the bikes. Jude collapsed in exhaustion and caught his breath while Maisie helped Zara off the stretcher and got her on her feet, or at least her good one. Jude looked at the branches and tilted his head, looking puzzled. He listened and thought he heard a noise coming from the highway, but he couldn't be sure. Pulling the 3 largest branches away, he confirmed his suspicions. The bikes were gone. Despite trying to replace the cover of the branches, the thieves didn't cover their fresh tracks, leading straight to the highway. They had taken the bikes only minutes before. Here are some insights. Zara left the Squamish River Sack, and she is accompanying Jude and Maisy on their way to Vancouver, which is their first stop in trying to find out what's going on with Callum. Zara is an aspiring journalist, and we're going to find out real quickly that a journalist is not a job. A journalist is what you are. I know I felt that way as a teacher. I didn't feel like that was my job. I felt like it was something I was. Certainly for Zara, there's no way she can really be a journalist on a sack, in a community that's kind of sequestered in the middle of nowhere. The idea of going to the city and just reporting on this world that she's only heard about is overwhelming, and she insists on going. Which you probably could find out, but even without context, that passage I read was from a adventure they had in the woods. They came upon a sudden snowstorm, and they had to get out of the weather, and they found an old hunting cabin, and they took shelter in that, and that's where that scene came from. Zara has stumbled, twisted her ankle, so she's not able to walk on it, and she's feeling guilty because, here she insisted on tagging along, and now she's a burden, or she feels like she's a burden. But what we're finding out is these hardships, the snowstorm, the survival, the twisting of the ankle, and Maisie needing to treat her, and all of that. What's happening is it's bringing out the best in all 3 of them. It's bringing out Jude's leadership. It's bringing out Maisie's compassion and her medical skills, and it's giving Zara lots of material for her to start reporting on. And these circumstances sort of help them to bond, and their relationship blossoms very quickly. Weather isn't their only threat. Obviously, the motorcycles were stolen even in that remote area. They did leave a sack, and they traveled together, and it's somebody saw them, somebody took the motorcycles. Anybody who would have seen them kind of hide them in the woods would have, it would be easy pickings. And you have to think about, this dystopian mindset. You've got a world where they have just recently come out of a lot of hunger and homelessness and desperation. And they are getting assistance. Now, people in the cities are getting assistance, but they're getting just enough. They're getting just enough to survive, just enough to keep them out of physical danger. But there's really no opportunity to have more than that. They're surviving on basics, but there are no jobs. There's no jobs for anyone, so you don't have any kind of prospect for career fulfillment. You don't have any prospect for achievement, of advancement, of possibly earning any more money. It's like people feel like they're stuck, and so you have this scarcity mindset. You find something, you'll never find it again. Take it right now. This sort of get a hold of whatever you can. Don't let it go. And you're going to see that this is very pervasive. And even in the sacks, it can be that way, especially if the sack is struggling to survive. And that's something that Jude and Maisy are going to see. They're not used to it, but they're also not surprised by it as well. So that is something that they're going to run into from time to time. A scarcity mindset is where you got to be careful, because it's people are desperate. When people are desperate, they do desperate things. So, but don't fear. Our three characters they look like they're in bad shape now. They're in the middle of nowhere. They're soaking wet, and then their motorcycles are gone. But that just means there's so much more that can happen. So hang on. We're going to see what happens in Chapter 5. We're going to see if they can make it to Vancouver and see what they can find out about Callum. And I think you'll enjoy it very much.